Hello, and welcome to a wonderful edition of Love Wrestling Reacts to tonight's Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I am Cody, this is Astrid, and the wonderful Mel is back for another Reacts with us. We're here to talk some amazing wrestling on an amazing show with a lot of surprises and really, really good matches. How are you ladies doing tonight?
How are you, Mel, since you're the guest?
You know what? I'm recovering from a cold right now, so I'm a little kind of in and out, hot and cold, but I'm doing pretty good, and I've just enjoyed an amazing couple hours of wrestling, so I can't complain. How are you doing, Astrid?
Yeah, doing good. I'm really glad it was a good pay-per-view. I was thinking about not watching it, but I'm glad I didn't miss it, though. So, there we go.
Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, it was a little touch and go to begin with for me, trying to figure out how I was going to watch it. I kind of felt like Tasha Steele's out there, you know, I do whatever it takes. I do what it takes. I do what it takes.
And we made it happen.
We made it happen. And just like Tasha did tonight, she made it happen. But let's start. There was an unannounced, a little bit surprising match we got on the pre-show right off the bat. Jake Something took on Madman Fulton in what felt to me like it could have been a dark match and not even needed to be televised. These are two guys we don't see a lot of wrestling. It didn't necessarily need to be on a pay-per-view, I didn't think, but it was still a pretty solid match between two guys who are still, you know, just kind of coming into their own. Thoughts on that, Astrid?
Yeah, overall, I was expecting it to be a little bit longer than what it was, but at the same time, just like with having the four-way in the pre-show, why have this match? Get the four-way a little bit more time, especially with the debut that we had tonight. But other than that, I'm like, I like Jake, so I don't mind seeing a little bit more of Jake every now and then. But other than that, I'm like, this match, I think I could have been without it in the card, to be honest. So,
yeah,
I share the exact same sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the match itself, Mel?
You know, for the notes that I have here, I have, you know, big boys just hitting big boys. It definitely felt like a big boy match. They were doing big boy stuff. I didn't feel that it was anything fantastical, but I didn't feel it was anything to be ignored either. Both of these guys, they did a pretty good job in keeping each other pretty back and forth. I remember that Fulton guy. He was in NXT at some point, I believe. Aesthetically speaking, he looks like Tarzan. He looks like a really cool character. Okay, that's why I recognized him. Yeah, I personally thought he had a really great look to me. Again, he looked like Tarzan. I thought he did a really Jake somebody. There was one point where he did a dive onto him, and it looked like he hovered just that little couple of seconds in the air. So I was like, that was pretty cool to see a big guy do, because usually they just kind of fly. And there was also a really nice powerbomb done by Jake at the end of the match there. A good choke slam, but yeah, I do echo the same sentiment as Astrid. It wasn't necessary for the pay-per-view to be complete. It could have been absent, and the pay-per-view still would have been really great.
Yeah. Wanted to get that out of the way first. Gonna kind of rewind, backtrack myself now before we actually get into the meat of the action, because there's a lot, and every other match besides that one really deserves some attention here. I'm gonna give a shout out. We've got the wonderful Ed Fries in the comments here, wishing us to have a beautiful show. Glad to see you, Ed. We're hoping to have a good time here talking about what was a great show, and we've got Bobby hopping in. Just saying hi and messaging about one of the bigger surprises of the night with the Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, PCO, and some other ROH guys that decided that they were going to make an impact on Impact. We will get to that as we break down and go through our reactions for the night as well. Also want to give a shout out here to our wonderful sponsors that we have with with us here at Love Wrestling. First of all, to Rich King at RK Athletics, doing all kinds of things for all of your fitness needs. Check him out at RK Athletics 1 on all social media platforms. Rich King does in-person training for if you are in the Edmonton area, as well as online fitness routines and help with your fitness needs through all of his social media platforms. And he is also a quite talented local wrestler within the local Edmonton wrestling scene as well. You can check him out and follow him through there. Also, we want to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsors at Manscaped. Currently through Love Wrestling, you can get 20% off and free shipping with promo code Love Wrestling at manscaped.com. We'll have more on that a little later in the show. Go check it out if you can. Wonderful products they've got there. I'll give you more information in a bit. Moving ahead with the show, our other pre-match show, the one that was announced but had a little bit of changes take place from the initial announcement, we had Ace Austin versus Chris Bay versus Laredo Kid, and the late addition to this match was the debuting Speedball Mike Bailey, good friend of Love Wrestling here, frequent follower, frequent commenter, and quite often raids us from his channel when he was frequenting on Twitch as well. Very, very great match. This match could have went on for 20 minutes and been just as good as they got in like 10 on the pre-show. All four of these men laid it on the line. There were some amazing spots. Speedball looked like he belonged and like he should have been there a long time ago. Speedball walks away with a big win, pinning the inevitable Ace Austin, I believe is who it was at the end there, with quite an amazing 450 stomp out of the corner. Go to you first on this one, Mel. What was your first impressions of seeing Speedball in there, and what did you think of everyone else in the match?
I mentioned this to you when we were messaging, that the fact that he had no shoes gave me a lot of anxiety. The increased chances of you breaking another something very easily by just some mess up is just, it's there more when you remove the shoe. But it didn't really seem to affect him. Honestly, this was my first time seeing this individual wrestle, and right down from his look and his smile and his gear, he just radiated this positive confidence when he came into the ring. I actually really, really enjoyed this match. There was a worth noting for me with Ace Austin. I know he's been aggressive before. I've seen a bit of him here and there. This seemed to be a new level of aggression for him coming into this match, and that I've never seen him so, very cranky and aggressive and very, I think maybe driven is the better word. But for this match, I agree with you. This match could have went a lot longer. We could have scrapped the first match and just added that time into this, and I'd have been a lot happier.
Astrid?
Yeah, I didn't think the match itself was so quick paced that it didn't feel like it was 10 minutes. I feel like it was longer than that, to me at least. And I feel like even if we had probably the time for the other match, it could have been even longer. And I feel like this was more than anything a showcase for Speedball. And I love that. I know I've heard of him because I love wrestling, but I've never seen him wrestle. So it was pretty amazing to see him wrestle like this for the first time, and seeing like not only the crowd behind him so quickly and getting like that momentum already. I loved it from beginning to end. And I like that even though it was more for like introducing us to Speedball, at the same time it was a good showcasing for all the four guys. Like everybody got their time and their highlights. Everybody had their balance in the match. And that, that back and forth and the quick pacing, that was just amazing to me. And I thought this is like the first match that I love already. I cannot imagine what the rest of the crowd was like. So it made me more excited for the rest of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what the X Division is all about. I know I mentioned, I think to both of you, or at least one of you last weekend, that I was surprised that Ace Austin hadn't had any kind of match announced for the card yet. So I was really, really pleased to see earlier this week when they did finally announce what was supposed to have been Jake something in the fourth slot, and then he ended up getting inevitably replaced with Mike Bailey in there. But it definitely felt like a showcase for Bailey. He got all his spots in. He showed a lot of personality, a lot of different looks and different things that you don't really see as much of. He had some very unique offensive moves and maneuvers that he pulled off in there, but you also still had, you know, the ultimate finesser, Chris Bay, in there doing what he does, flying around and showing off his athleticism. You have Ace Austin showing his aggression, but also how athletic and talented he is. And then you have Laredo Kid, who I think is very, very highly overlooked in Impact's X division. That, you know, he was in the triple threat with Trey Miguel and Steve Macklin last month, but ultimately he was the odd man out of that feud. It almost felt like weird that he was in a title feud at that point, and he's someone that I personally don't necessarily look and think Laredo Kid is somebody that's that great, but then you watch his matches and you're like, okay, yeah, like the guy can go in the ring. He's extremely talented. Just a quick hello out there in the crowd. Everything Pro Wrestling, Conrad, thank you for popping in. Glad to see you coming to chat some Impact Wrestling there with us. Next up, we get into the main part of the show, and we opened with Trey and Steve Macklin, right? I'm not crazy that it was the opening match. There's so much wrestling tonight.
Nah. No, we could do better than
The
that.
opening match?
Yeah.
Wasn't the opening match the women's X?
Oh, yeah, it was too.
Yeah.
You're right.
I was like, that is not number one on the notes.
You're right. You even said this 5 minutes ago, Astrid. It's been a long day, okay? I've been awake since like 4 o'clock this morning. Cut me some slack. Yeah, no, you're right. We opened with women and we ended with women. So the Ultimate X 6 women's match in there. Also, the fact that I watched this while I was driving home. I was not distracted driving. It was fantastic. Yeah, I didn't get to watch as closely or as neatly as I wanted to, and obviously my notes are lacking that I didn't have any notes for it since I was driving while it was happening, but it was a fantastic match. Some excellent spots. Mel, I'm gonna kick it down to you for this one again because I know you've got the notes ready, and I want to hear you kind of give us what you got from this match.
You know, at this match, as soon as I started watching the intros, I was like, I forgot how great of a match this was going to be. You know, Jordan Grace is one of my personal favorites on the scene right now. You know, just her strength and things that she can do for being such a small, compact little individual. You know, just incredible. To see her just monkey barring across those things, then with Lady Frost hanging off of her, then with Tasha hanging off with her, like the woman is just freakishly strong, and you got to give her props for that. She had a phenomenal spine buster early in the match. What I really like about this match in particular is that even though it was also obviously a no disqualification, we saw the addition of other faction members start coming in and start helping their friend, you know, with Havoc coming in to help Rosemary, with was it Savannah coming in to help out Tasha. To me, that's what you do when you're in your faction. You help your faction member, you take advantage of the situation, whether you're heel, whether you're face. You always kind of know a list of things that you can do to interject yourself and to kind of turn the match. So I really, really liked seeing that, something that we don't always see with factions in a lot of other companies. Lady Frost, man, incredible dives, that moonsault off the top rack that she scaled there in the corner. I didn't even know she was up there, let alone that she was doing a moonsault. So to see that pop up, that got a nice pop out of me. My neighbors probably hate me, and I don't care. I also got to give props to Alicia. She's so tiny, so little, but she comes out there and she was like a little mighty chihuahua just swinging around with that little kendo stick. It was like a piñata party, and I loved it. But yeah, this match, it was just one great thing after another, giving even Chelsea Green and Tasha at the end there swinging out to kind of fight over the X in the center there. It was just a great match of stories for each woman who got to show off her special skill, and I loved it. I was like, this is a match, we're done. Don't need to do the rest of the pay-per-view. We're good.
It was the match we all came to see, I think, tonight, and it was the right choice to have it open the show. It really set the stage. they didn't let the crowd down by putting it first either. That they really gave the women the showcase, that nobody was coming down off a high of somebody else's big match, that this match got its time, it got its energy, and it got the full attention of the crowd. But then it wasn't like that was your high and then the night ended. That was your high and then the night kept going. Savannah coming out and helping Tasha, Havoc coming out and helping Rosemary. I was super happy to see Alicia get into this match after she was initially kind of shunned from it in favor of Rachel Ellering. It's kind of weird to me that they would put Rachel and Jordan in the match together in the first place, so it definitely made sense. Whatever the underlying reason may be that Rachel ended up having to miss this match, it made more sense without her in there. It would have been interesting to see how they could have tried to tell that otherwise. A couple of the spots I saw was Alicia with Kendra going around and just swinging away with it. The end spot there definitely with Tasha hanging upside down by her knees and fighting for that X. There was also the spot, I think it was Alicia and Chelsea, was it, that were up on one of the corners and both of them went off in opposite directions.
Did that dive onto the remaining people.
Yeah, it was chaos. It was fun. It showed that the women deserve to be in that same speech with the men in terms of matches like this, that whatever the men can do in Ultimate X, the women can just as easily match it. And this really shows that when given the time and given the opportunity, the women truly can shine. And I feel like Impact in these cases really, really puts that spotlight on what women's wrestling can do. What about you, Astrid?
Yeah, just like you mentioned, that this is exactly what I was thinking since it was announced. Like when people talk about the women's revolution, they keep talking about the WWE and the Four Horsewomen debuting, but people forget that Impact had a lot to do with this too, and they started this before most of the companies did, giving women opportunities to do these type of matches that most people wouldn't give them the opportunity to do in the first place. And to think like even now, they say this is 19 years in the making, so I mean, think they had done so many things and they hadn't done this particular thing, which is amazing to think like even now the girl is the first time for the ladies doing this. And I can imagine based on the feedback they'll get from tonight that they'll keep doing this every single year because it's just amazing from beginning to end. And I loved it. At first, I love all the attires they had. I just like the ladies are like shining tonight. I could tell they were like excited to do this match already. I did notice that when Jordan first started hanging out, she kind of looked like she was kind of nervous and hesitant to do it at first. But when she went for it, she did go all the way in for it. But having like that part with Alicia hanging and Chelsea having the kendo stick, just like I'm not here on this, and then the other one's like, no, I'm here on this, and then the spear that she got from Rosemary just killed me. When I saw her on the ground, like, holy crap. And just reminds me how Alicia looks so like, like Mel was saying, she looks tiny. You think like she's innocent and she's just not going to get into this, but she's the one that gets really hardcore into this. And I love having the crowd chanting that for her too. That was just incredible to hear. And the action, like all the back and forth. I did wish that Chelsea would have done a little bit more because I feel like Chelsea is one of the most like experienced out of everybody in this match. And I feel like she didn't do much when it came to it. But other than that, I loved everything that happened. I feel like there were so many spots I couldn't keep up with my notes, but the part with like Alicia and Chelsea like going off at the same time, I love that part too. And even Jordan, every time Jordan climbed, I was like, "Holy crap! Like keep going, you can do it." But every single part, just I loved it. I wish it would have been longer because it was already so good. I didn't want it to end, to be honest. But it's just amazing to see the ladies getting the spotlight, and not only they opened the show, but the main event. And I know we're not talking about AEW, but the main event in Battle of the Belts too tonight. So just incredible to see the woman, still showing off when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. You just reminded me. I almost forgot about that spot with Alicia on the ropes and when Chelsea picked up Kendra, because that one definitely stood out to me. And we haven't talked about it yet, but the commentary team tonight. It was announced earlier this week that Matt Stryker had been let go from his contract with Impact. There was a lot of speculation on who might end up being that new commentator. We ended up getting Tom Hannafin, formerly Tom Phillips with WWE, and he filled in. He was so good on commentary tonight. I hadn't realized how underwhelming Stryker was until listening tonight to Tom Phillips. And Tom Hannafin brought something so much like such a higher level of commentary to that table that it really just showed me what we were missing when we had Stryker there. And that spot with Alicia hanging from the rope there, Tom and D'Lo were actually in the midst just then of talking about Alicia and how she has like this obsession with Kendra, and then Chelsea picked up Kendra, and Alicia just kind of stopped. She stopped climbing to the X. She just stopped to look at Chelsea and really played into that obsession that the commentary team had just mentioned. And that's one of the big things I've always appreciated from the commentary teams, is when they can really tell that story and have their storytelling and their timing be right on point to match up with what's happening in the matches too. Once this match was done and Tasha Steelz walked away with her ex at the end of it, we get into the Trey Miguel and Steve Macklin match, which was, again, this was the one I said 2-3 weeks ago that this match could steal the show tonight. And it was tough going tonight. I don't know how you pick a favorite match from tonight's show, but this match did everything it could to be that show stealer. You had Steve Macklin come out with his power and his dominance and his aggression. It was announced earlier during the pre-show that Gail Kim had told him this was his last shot, that if he lost this match, that's it. There's no more as long as Miguel is champion. And Macklin really came out with that intensity and that violent side to him, that he wanted to get it done and remain undefeated. Miguel definitely seemed like he was just trying to stay alive early. He'd get in his hits here and there, but kept getting shut down until near the end when he really started speeding up and landing a lot of his combos and just managing. He lands a Meteora. Macklin manages to kick out of the Meteora, and then Trey Miguel hit an absolutely vicious-looking brainbuster. And then the second Meteora with the roll through for the pin to finally officially defeat Macklin by a pinfall for the first time in Macklin's Impact career now. Go to you first here, Astrid. What were your thoughts on this match?
First, I gotta start. I love that entrance because it just obviously gave me that No Way Home reference, and I love how they did it. And I believe it was Tom that he said, I thought I saw some rascals. I was like, I love that reference so much. I was like, it's killing me. But it just like having when Trey landed in the crowd on top of the fans, I was like, holy crap. It just like, I liked how every time that Trey had something, Steve had an answer to it. And it was like, I'm going this. And then Steve like, no, you're not, I'm going to stop you every time I can. And it makes you like think, oh, Steve's going to win the match somehow. And then he does it. And now it makes you think like he's going to have to wait until Trey loses now to challenge for the championship as well, because of the condition that Gail Kim told him. So I thought it was interesting seeing the like, taking like 2 steps, and then Steve's like, no, I'm going to stop you right here. You're not going to go any further than this. And having that stopping him the way he did, it's one of the first few times that I see Steve wrestle. So it's pretty like impressive seeing him in a match like this one. Especially with Trey. I haven't seen Trey that often either. So just like it makes me see that I need to watch Impact more often, because I was not disappointed by this pay-per-view at all. So
yeah, Mel?
No, I agree with everything both of you just said about this. I actually wrote down that I know I've seen Backlund somewhere along his journey, and I just wrote down he's a brute wrestler, brute force, brute everything he does with power. He dominated that first part of the match. At one point, I was like, "Are we sure that this Trey person was made a champion for a good reason?" And then he started up, and he kind of almost at one point reminded me of Prince Puma in Lucha Underground, or Ricochet in New Japan. Obviously, the same character, but like the movements were very similar, and the athleticism was very comparable also. I really enjoyed this match, and I felt that the difference in styles with Backlund being that more brutish style wrestler, and Trey Miguel being more of that kind of high flyer, I personally felt that their styles meshed really, really well to give us a really, really entertaining match tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is the third time these two have actually been in the ring together. They've had two different triple threats over the last couple months. The first one, I forget who. It was El Phantasmo was the third in the first one when Trey won the title. It was Phantasmo, Macklin, and Miguel. And then the second one was Miguel and Laredo Kid with Macklin. And neither time Miguel ended up getting pinned, and that's how we ended up at tonight. So these two have had a lot of chemistry. They have a lot of story that was built behind this too. Mel, you'd probably know Macklin. He was Steve Cutler in NXT, and he was
Okay, yeah.
one of the Forgotten Sons that got forgotten with some comments made by one of his stablemates last year. No, it's been a really good story told. Just before we move on, I know you guys you haven't been watching a ton of the weekly Impact stuff, but anyone from tonight's show that stood out that you think might be someone you'd want to see or that could be next in line to face Miguel coming up?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Ace Austin and his work,
Mm.
and of course, as I think it was Bobby who mentioned earlier, seeing the return of what were they called, the Kingdom?
Yeah.
Is that what they were called?
Mhm.
Yeah, Matt Taven, he's a professional asshole, but he's always been one of my favorites, kind of in that kind of size area. So I wouldn't mind seeing Taven kind of step up and kind of do some work there. So, what do you think, Astrid?
Yeah, I was thinking of, based on the match, like Ace Austin's the one that caught my eye during the match, and then why not put Speedball in there already? That showcase he had tonight, put him in the X Division match. I wouldn't mind seeing more of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think we might be getting Chris Bay. I would like to see Chris Bay being involved with Trey Miguel at this point. He's one of the bigger X Division stars. He's been kind of tied up in a lot of the Bullet Club tag team stuff since he joined Bullet Club. But putting him in a place where he can go back to his X Division roots in a match with Trey Miguel should be an excellent showcase for both of them too. So that would be who I would want to see going for the title next. Help me out. Where did we go next from here? Next was the ROH match, right?
Yep, we had Ian in
Grisham and
commentary.
Sabin.
Yeah. We had the ROH commentator, we had the ROH ring announcer, and we had Chris Sabin versus Jermaine Gresham in how did they word it? It was a technical showcase match, right? Or a technical rules match, or like a.
Yeah, it was. I think it was labeled an ROH title match, but they
Yeah.
had that special submission or that special list of rules where you could
Yeah. There's only 3 rope breaks per person. It was
Yeah, I screenshotted it if you wanted them listed.
Okay, go for it, Astrid.
So we have Ring of Honor World Title Pure Rules. So it says every match begins and ends with a Code of Honor handshake. Each wrestler has 3 rope breaks to stop the submission holds and pinfalls. And after a wrestler exhausted the rope breaks and the submission and pin attempts or under the ropes by the opponent are illegal, close fist punches to the face are not permitted. The first use of it gets a warning, and the second one is a DQ. And it'll be a 20 count when the wrestler is on the floor. So those were the rules they gave us.
Yeah. So it was a very unique set of rules, something that we haven't really seen a lot of in a lot of mainstream companies at this point. It was a really, really interesting match. It was a solid technical showcase. It was the kind of stuff that I know I've preached before that I love to watch from Zack Sabre Jr. Jermaine Gresham and Chris Sabin put on another one of those technical showcases that was just fantastic to watch. The way they worked within those rules, within the 20-second count out from outside the ring, the mental game of having to know, like, should I use one of my 3 rope breaks? Is this a situation where I'm going to benefit from using a rope break, or should I try and figure out how to like reverse this submission he's got me in? It was just so unique and so interesting to watch the mind games and the mental fortitude of these 2 men going through all of that it really stood out to me as something I want to see more of. I know you've been on board with a lot of the Zach stuff during the G1 with me, Mel. Where did you stand on this one as compared to what we've seen with Zach and just on its own?
I actually saw Grisham in New Japan before when he came over with the ROH tour. And that was actually my first introduction to him, and he was incredible. And I thought the same thing. He was very comparable to Zack Sabre Jr. in that, and the only difference kind of being is that Grisham almost has like a playful nature to his wrestling. It's almost like he sits down and almost dares you like Zack Sabre Jr. does, but he almost does it in like a what you gonna do kind of way. Whereas obviously Zack Sabre Jr., he's a jerk. He just sits there and goes, "Come on, dickhead, let's go." So, like with this match, I really appreciate, exactly as you said, the technical, the technical aspect of it was just nonstop, one after the other, and you could really see. I felt at the end, Grisham starting to really break down because of those mental kind of games he was playing. You start to see him get a little angsty, a little more yelly, a little bit more vocal at Chris Sabin. I think he also gave him, like, the double bird and everything right before the end there. I really enjoyed this match. I was surprised at the end. I expected Grisham to retain, but I didn't expect it to end in the sudden nature of it as it did. But I was still very happy and entertained by it.
Yeah, Astrid.
Yeah, I expected from the beginning to see Gresham like retaining, because I keep thinking that I think most of the people from Ring of Honor are gonna keep those titles up until Ring of Honor, picks back up in April, which is their hope. I thought it was interesting how they kept in commentary, like bringing it back and telling us like Sabi has been owed this match since 2018, and I'm like, what? Who has that kind of patience for a match? I don't know why I can do it. I didn't get to list of everybody, but I like how they also mentioned how if he wins the title, he will match up like Eddie, Joe, and I forgot who the third person was in winning like the Ring of Honor title and the Impact title too. And how they keep pointing out like how Gresham excels when he slows down the match, because obviously Sabin is really really fast paced, and I like how they kept highlighting that through the whole night. So when I see all of a sudden that Sabin is celebrating, I kept thinking, there's no way they're gonna end it like this. There's no way Gresham is gonna get the title off of him that like this. So I like when they put the shot right to his foot under the ropes. Again, no, it's like no, it's gonna keep happening. And the part where they were like giving each other the chops, oh my word, I kept feeling it. I'm like, no, I don't like this so much. But I like the action they had. I think it's one of the first few times I see Gresham in like wrestling too. So it's pretty amazing to see him having this kind of like my first impression of him. So it just makes you think like, what else can he give us? If this is just like the part of like he gave us, I want more of it. So it just made me interested in him. So I just want to see what else they decide to do with people like him from Ring of Honor. Obviously, that how they're like going like appearing in different shows at the moment while Ring of Honor picks back up in April. Um, but yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed the match overall. So I'm like, if they want to do it again, I'm all in for that too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were talking a little bit during this match, Astrid, about the fact that it was our first time for both of us really seeing him. And then just shortly after we talked about that, Tom and D'Lo were talking, saying, if you haven't seen Jermaine Gresham wrestle, you must have been living under a rock for the last 2 years.
I guess I've been under the rock.
Apparently. Under a rock, not the rock. He's been in Hollywood.
We can wish.
No, it was a great showcase. Hopefully that, like, I'm speculating that maybe we're going to see a lot more of ROH and Impact crossing over based on what we've seen tonight. We had Gresham, we had the surprises in the ring a little bit later, and then we also had Roxy sitting at ringside during the main event. So there's a lot of ROH on our screen. We had a lot of Tom Phillips talking about the Royal Rumble tonight too. Quite a few different mentions in between matches and stuff, that him constantly mentioning and actually talking about the Royal Rumble on Impact TV was so eerie. It was weird. It was unexpected. But obviously there's some kind of deal that's struck here that Impact is promoting the Royal Rumble because one of their talent's going, and in return WWE is promoting an Impact title and the Knockouts champion, but by having Mickey announced 3 weeks in advance as being part of the Rumble. So after this ROH match, though, we went into Jonah and Josh Alexander, which the Walking Weapon versus the Top Dog, as he's called himself, or Mass Destruction, as he's called himself. Again, another clash of styles. The highly, highly technical expertise of Josh Alexander and his meshing of kind of a hard style, but also still working a faster X Division style, with just the pure size and power and dominance of Jonah. And this, I saw it in our Love Wrestling chat through everybody that was watching behind the scenes. Well, that this was an early call from many people as the match of the night, after having that X Division match, after having Trey and Steve, after having Jermaine Gresham, and people were saying Jonah and Josh Alexander was the match of the night. Like this card just blew me away. Every match almost topped the one before it, and this one was no less than that. That you had Josh really trying to work from the bottom through a lot of this, just having to overcome and overcome and overcome. And through the build up to this match, we saw Scott D'Amore trying, ever since Josh dropped the world title to Moose immediately after having won it. Scott has been trying to tell Josh that he needs to get his emotions in check. He needs to get his emotions in check. He can't get angry. And I felt in this match, he almost kind of reverted a little bit, that when he really, like, when he got to the end and got his victory is when he actually just let his emotions loose and just got angry and let Jonah hit him and is like, hit me. And he gets knocked down. He gets right back up and takes Jonah down. It was a really, really good story, I thought, told by them. Having been watching and invested in this story and a fan of Jonah when he was in NXT as well. I've quickly become a fan of Jonah ever since I've started consistently following Impact on a weekly basis. This match is definitely up there as an early contender for a potential match of the year, even, I think, as well. Mel, we'll go to you first this time.
I actually really like this match, but I have to go on the other side of the spectrum with that. I'm not a big fan of Jonah. And tonight he was certainly the worst dressed. I did not like his gear at all. And I always have this problem with things coming out of places that they just shouldn't. But overall, ignoring all of that, this match was very, very good. I really enjoyed this. I have seen Josh Alexander before, both locally and a little bit on other other Impact stuff. I was really impressed with this match. Again, you mentioned that he kind of shied away a little bit more from his technical stuff into a little bit more heavier stuff to meet the threat of Jonah, who was pretty much just throwing his weight around on him. And he definitely got the upper hand on him very, very quickly. But I personally felt that once they got into the middle of the match, there was just that perfect amount of back and forth that made me kind of almost question. Like, I'd called Josh Alexander winning before, but I started to question throughout the match, is Jonah going to be maybe too much for him? Is he going to be able to overcome this? In the end, he was able to overcome it, and thank goodness, because he needed that coming into that loss from Moose that you had mentioned. I personally really enjoy this match. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it more than the Grisham-Sabin match, but I would say it's definitely going to be, I honestly haven't picked a match that I thought was match of the night, because they were just all so good in their own little ways. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think of that.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that for sure. I was very much back and forth throughout the match on who I thought was going to win, because it's Jonah's first real big feud in Impact and his first big time match that you don't often see debuting guys, especially big names that they're trying to put over as like impressive and aggressive and dominant, take that L in their first match. But at the same time, Josh literally was just at the top of the mountain, got taken down by basically a Money in the Bank cash in. And then now you can't have him lose then to somebody who's just barely debuting on the show. So it was very back and forth for me on like, who's taking the L in this one? Are we going to have some kind of shenanigans, some kind of weird finish? But I'm glad it went the way it did. Josh definitely needed that. Go to you, Astrid.
Yeah, just like you guys, I was just like debating who's gonna win it, because I kept thinking Josh needs it, because I want him to get that push to get back to the world title against Moose. But at the same time, I'm thinking Jonah just got here. Is he gonna lose like kind of like this quickly after his debut? Which is like, I kept balancing that through the whole match. But I did enjoy how there was a good back and forth between them. We got a little bit of Jonah and Josh in here, and it kept going like that to me. And I love seeing both of them. The part when they actually land by the by the chairs outside by the fans, I just like, oh my God. And then when Josh was trying to get him the clotheslines and he wouldn't move, not even just a little bit, and he kept trying to do that to Jonah in the end with the ankle lock. And just like, I like how he kept focusing on his ankle, and then I think he just like, I have hit the spot, like this is the time for me to do it. And then I didn't think he was gonna tap out. I thought he was just gonna like stay there and try to reach for the ropes, and then he taps out. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I was always like from the beginning hoping like Josh will win it because I really wanted to get that momentum back. So I'm really really glad that he did. But again, this is just a good showcase, Jonah. They basically his like first few matches in Impact, so I'm just excited to see how else they decide to push him after having Josh in there. So I wonder who he's gonna go against after he obviously now that he's done with Josh. So that's what made me like interested in him now.
Yeah, for sure. It was a great showcase for him. I just thought of too. I know I messaged it to you, Astrid, about halfway through the match or so, where Josh actually tried to hook Jonah up for the C4, and I was like, no, he's not going to try. He's not going to end this with a C4, right? He can't possibly get Jonah up for a C4 pile driver. So I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad they actually, shied away from that a little bit, that Josh couldn't get him up and had to turn to the ankle lock and turn and go a different direction than he's so used to finishing his matches with. After this match, we went into the hardcore war. It was right, yeah. Which coming into this, the only word I could say for what this hardcore match was going to be was chaos. I didn't even understand what the rules of a hardcore war match were prior to them announcing it pre-match. It's basically, as far as I could consider it, it was a War Games match without the second ring or the cage.
That's what crossed my mind because I took a screenshot of the rules and I kept thinking, is this War Games without the cage and the second ring? Basically, this is what came to mind when I read it. So.
Pretty much. So to clarify for anyone watching that didn't catch it, it was one man from each team enters the ring, starts the match, and then it was it every 3 minutes?
90 seconds,
yeah. Every 90 seconds, somebody enters from the alternated team, and the match cannot end till the final man has entered. So basically, like the War Games. And after they all have entered, it's only won by pinfall or submission, and it's no disqualification.
Yeah. This match got time. This match got everything except the kitchen sink, including the forbidden door.
Literally.
We had doors, we had pipes, we had chains around people's faces, we had kendo sticks lit on fire, we had plyboard with barbed wire. I don't even remember what else. Tables, chairs, like
a trash can,
we probably saw
lid.
it.
Little lids coming out where Eric Young was just
This might as well have been a love story to ECW as far as I was concerned. It was fun. It was like just absolute mayhem. It was chaos. It was carnage. I was disappointed that I could see at one point in the match, literally on the mat, I saw it was Heath. Heath was handing what had to have been a blade. He handed off to EY because Heath had it. You could see him hand something to EY, and then Heath gets up and he's got blood. You can see EY on the ground like this, and then he comes up and he's got a face full of blood. Then they show Luke Gallows had a face full of blood. I think Rich might have had some blood coming. You had Eddie Edwards had blood coming. Like everybody was bloody by the end, and it was just disappointing to.
So sanitary.
To see, like, to be able to see, like, the camera work that you could see it is bad in the first place, but the fact that they're doing it, they're blading it, it's disappointing when that part of the illusion is broken. And I don't like the idea of them cutting themselves for that for no reason. If you're gonna bleed it, like, it shouldn't be planned blood. That's personal preference on my part. If you're bleeding, it's got to be something where you took something hard and make it like actual carnage, which shouldn't happen very often as far as I'm concerned. But the match itself was great. We ended up finishing with a gore and Carl Anderson taking the fall. Tom and D'Lo did put over the fact that Heath now has pinned one of the tag team champions. So Heath and Rhino presumably will be next in line to face LG and Machine Gun Anderson for the titles. And then as the winning team is in the ring celebrating, we get the oh my god moment of the night as OG F and K comes out. Taven and Bennett come out and attack Swan and Mac, I believe it was, from behind. And then you have Edwards and Heath and Rhino try to come and save their partners, but you have PCO comes out. You had Vincent came out. I feel like there was somebody else too that I didn't catch
Maria
the name
came
of. And
eventually.
How you can forget about Maria?
I knew Maria was there. I thought there
How
was
do you
another guy
solve
though.
a problem like Maria?
I thought there was another guy. I thought there were 5 guys out there
Mm.
though.
It's the 4.
But yeah, they stood tall. You had Taven and Bennett at different times during the beatdown saying, "We're here to stay." You had Taven hold up the Impact World Tag titles, saying, "We'll take these 2." You had D'Lo and Tom going nuts at the announce table. You had our entire Love Wrestling chat in all caps. Everybody's mind blown. And then you go backstage where somebody asked, the interviewer asked Scott D'Amore if he knew what was happening, and he's like, "No, I have to call Baltimore and find out."
Setting up for a
Astrid,
very good story there.
I think you're familiar with a couple of these people from ROH, right, Astrid? So I'll maybe give you a shot to go first on that one.
Yeah, let's just say that when I went to New Orleans for WrestleMania, I had to make a decision between Takeover and Supercard of Honor, and I went to Supercard, and I don't regret it because they introduced me to like most of these people. So now when I see them, I'm like, I know who you are. But going back to the part about the blading part you were mentioning, though, I was thinking like in matches like this, they should make it so like the chaos is so much that the chaos distracts you from the blading, and that's the part that I was like, that should have been it if they decided to do it with that way. At least make it so like the hardcore and the war of it, like it distracts the person from seeing anybody bleeding. Like that's the part that I'm like, yeah, you should have a distraction in here. I shouldn't be able to see this stuff. But yeah, there were so many spots. Like I believe it was EY and Eddie hitting each other with the trash can lids like back and forth, and Eddie with that coming in with the candlestick that was lit on fire, and even Swan on the barbed wire like wood, like everything. I was like, holy moly! Every time I kept thinking like, this is amazing. Something else would happen. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, the chaos in the ring was just incredible to watch. Yeah, having like the OGK come out, I was thinking, oh, OGK, and then my notes are like literally OGK attack, Vincent too, PCL too, and I was like, everybody's coming here. Who else is gonna come out? But I love how having, I believe it was Taven and Bennett come in and bring in Maria like for to do their sign, and like even Taven when he was holding the championship, he said, we'll take these 2, is what he said, and I love seeing that like between them. Because I watch going back to Supercard of Honor, I really enjoyed Taven, and I was always like, I feel like he was highlighted for me the most. Like I was drawn to him, so seeing him in here, I'm like, I'm so excited to see them here and how they play this out later on. So just like it's just incredible to see how Impact is working with so many people at the same time, and so many different stories are being showcased here.
Yeah, Mel. Do we have a delay, Mel?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were done yet. There, that was perfect. This match, I personally didn't see the thing that you were like the blade that you were talking about, but if that is the case, I do echo the same sentiment. There shouldn't be a reason for these guys to need it. They were hitting each other with golf clubs. They were, hitting each other with kendo sticks. They were, throwing each other through doors and tables and barbed wire. Like there's no reason for it. If you can't hurt yourself on it, come get some lessons with me. I'll teach you my ways. But there's no reason why there should have been a blade in that ring. And that being said, I was actually surprised because like pretty much everyone was bleeding by the end of the match in some way, shape, or form. I wasn't even sure PCO wasn't going to be bleeding when doing that crazy cannonball dive thing on the side of the ring there. That man, I don't know how he lives. But I was actually surprised at how little amount of blood there was, considering it was a hardcore match and considering the participants. As soon as I saw Eric Young and Diener and that other Joe Doring, and I was like, we're going to be in for a bloodbath. And for me, this was actually surprisingly tame into what I was actually expecting, and I'm happy about that because I'm not one of those people who likes that crazy amount of blood being just projected at the fans. So this match, I was very happy also, as Astrid mentioned, seeing Matt Taven and Bennett at the end. And Matt Taven has always been someone that's been on my radar since I saw him in AAA and CMLL. Caused one of my favorite lucha guys to lose a hair versus hair match. Shake my fist at you, Matt Taven. But no, this match again, like I thought it was actually a surprisingly well put together hardcore match for me. I was expecting to hate this match, and I didn't. So I'm very pleasantly surprised about that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure what to think of it going in, and I also was very pleasantly surprised. It was a very well done hardcore match. It was just, breaking that fourth wall, breaking that illusion that always hurts a match when I can see what's going on behind the scenes. I think it was Willie Mack came in with the chain, or Rhino came in with chain wrapped around his fist and made that punch on EY, and as EY went to the ground is where I saw him hand off from Heath, and then he's over in the corner and Diener is almost helping him with trying to get the cut in. And then when he stands up, he has a huge gash up his forehead where he cut it. And it was disappointing seeing that and like recognizing what was happening in the moment, that it really took it away for me.
Yeah, especially if they're making it realistic enough that they don't need that. They don't need to you don't have to always bleed if you get hit in the head with a kendo stick. We know it's going to welt, but it doesn't have to bleed.
Yeah, I mean, being hit in the head with an actual chain, if you actually did take that shot, chances are you're probably going to either have a great big welt or, be busted open. But, they're not actually... Spoilers! They're not actually hitting him with the chain on the hand.
That's a good spoiler, I think, to have.
Rhino, when he came down with the chain, that was my one knock on this match. When Rhino came out as the 10th entrant, there were about 3 or 4 of the guys that with... And you could see, like, the camera work. You could see that he was, like, that far away from the guy's face. But
camera guys.
Yeah, the camera work. Come on, Impact. Got to pick it up. All we have left is the 2 big title matches. Before we get into that, I'm going to take over the big screen here because we have some news, some information to pass along to our viewers about the wonderful Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Support for Love Wrestling is being brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They've just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, 4.0. Join over 4 million men, including myself, who trust Manscaped worldwide with this exclusive offer, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com. Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. Imagine making your lady happy when she doesn't have to climb a jungle to find her way to your pole. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0, and I'm blown away by the performance. The light, the waterproof, the fact that I can use it where I need it, when I need it, get the job done, and be on my way. It does make taking care of your downstairs a lot easier. Don't use your face razor. Nobody wants pubes in their beard. You want to keep this looking nice and good. Take care of it with a Manscaped 4.0. Once again, that's manscaped.com using the code LOVEWRESTLING, and you will get 20% off and free shipping worldwide wherever you are. Head over there now and get yours on your way. With that, let's jump into what I thought was supposed to be the main event of the evening, but was pleasantly surprised to take the sub-main event in favor of the women tonight. We had champion Moose defending in a triple threat against W. Morrissey and Matt Cardona. You know what? I'm going to give it to you on this one, Mel. Tell us what happened. Tell us what you thought of it.
I was actually very, very happy with this match because, like, I know this is a different of opinion with certain people, but, Mark Cardona, Zack Ryder, what he could have been doing in the last couple years, decade of his career versus what I saw here tonight, I just got to shake my head and be like, yo, you missed a phenomenal opportunity with this individual giving them peanuts when this was a freaking ribeye steak. This match was a good match for me to see of Morsley, because I knew he was back, but I didn't know that he had gotten as good as he did. Like he was all right before. He wasn't anything spectacular, but he wasn't anything not spectacular either. You have a 7-foot tall person wandering up to you, you're going to have a certain level of intimidation on what they can do to you, especially at 5'3". But this match showed off for me, because I already knew Moose was a force. This match showed to me that Morsley and Cardona have no problems hanging with the top guys in Impact Wrestling. I felt at the beginning of the match, huge hit after huge hit for every single person. They were just doing their stuff, doing their spots, showing off. There was a spot with a powerbomb and slam in the corner that was with Moose, where Moose actually, I think, powerbombed Morsley, and Morsley ends up tossing Cardona. I was like, you don't typically see two big guys who are the height and size of Moose and Morsley setting something up like that typically, let alone doing it with a third individual who's acting almost like a trebuchet. They literally made a human trebuchet out of Matt Cardona in that corner. The addition of Chelsea Green running out trying to defend her man, and then, FU Moose doing the dive, doing what she needed to do to try to help Matt win. That to me, as I've mentioned earlier, I enjoy seeing people who are teaming together, people who are faction together, actually binding together and trying to help each other win. So I really liked that really cool dynamic. I don't remember what happened, but I wrote Moose flew today. So I'm guessing at some point he got thrown or he did a really great dive.
He did do a dive through the ropes at one point, which was really surprising.
Okay, that must have been what I meant. Whoever thought of flying moose.
Or the one, or maybe it was the one where he got pushed off the top through the table. Maybe that's what he meant by
that
him
was
flying.
the one where Cardona pushed him right out of the camera view and he almost went to the crowd. Yeah, he flew. He flew that day.
He flew. He barely clipped the table on his way down.
Yeah, thank goodness he hit that table on the way down, because if he had hit that gate fully, that would have hurt. And I think it was actually Jonah and Josh Alexander earlier in the match who actually, when they slammed into one of those barricades, one of the thingies actually popped out of there, and commentary had mentioned that they were wrecking everything. That's what happens when you start throwing big boys around. Lots of chaos in this movie, in this match. Lots of great stories. I felt it was almost organized chaos. It was meant to look more crazy than it was, but at the end it all kind of materialized in the way that it was supposed to be. I was actually, by the end of it, rooting for Cardona. A little disappointed Moose retained, but there's a reason why he's the champion in the first place, right?
Yeah, for sure. Astrid, we'll go to you here before I give my thoughts on the match.
I feel like this match, I don't know if because it felt kind of quick, but I feel like it felt shorter compared to the rest of the card. Maybe if it was me, the way, like, the pacing of it. But I love having Chelsea involved, because we know how it's been with her and Cardona and GCW. So it's nice to see them, like, getting, like, this or something, like, not obviously the same, but getting involved like this in the match together. Also having her in the corner, because it reminded me of, like, the video you sent me, Cody, of, like, her getting the shared shot. I think it was last week or the week before. So, like, seeing her, like, kind of, like, avoided this time around, but then having, like, Moose and come in, and she got hit and the ref got hit, and then when Cardona got that pin, it was so dang close. Like, they got me, because I really thought it was a 3 count, and I was like, oh wait, Cardona won. But yeah, they just had me, like, freaked out during the whole match, having, like, Chelsea in there, because she was just, like, all in for it. And I love seeing her, like, getting involved in the way she did. But yeah, seeing again, like, Morrissey in here, I obviously we saw him in the ABS cast, but I like seeing him by himself, because we could showcase him a little bit better than what he was in WWE. So I like seeing him by himself a lot more. But yeah, other than that, it's just like I enjoy the match, and, like, the spot that Mel was talking about. I thought it was gonna end up being like a Tower of Doom. So I wrote Tower of Doom, and then the commentary they go, no, it's a Powerbomb SOS at the same time. I was like, yeah, whatever that was, I loved it. I love how they did it, how they landed. They really caught my attention with that one. But I love the pacing in the match overall, and like the back and forth everybody had. I loved it really. So.
Yeah, this was the match that I was most uncertain about going into this show. There was so many good matches on this card. Like I said, the Hardcore War I knew was going to be chaos. Trey and Steve was going to be very, very underrated and possibly steal the show. You knew Ultimate X was going to be absolutely fantastic. When that opening pre-show four-way got announced, you knew that that was just going to be more X Division greatness. Jonah and Josh, you knew was going to be great. The ROH title, I wasn't familiar with Gresham, but you knew that was going to be it. Moose, Morrissey, and Cardona. I mean, you have one has been a lifetime mid Cardona, as Moose has called him during the build to this match. You have Morrissey, who really hadn't quite ever been recognized as coming into his own. And you have Moose, who's extremely talented in the ring, but takes a really, really bad rap over some personal choices and comments he's made in the past that, unfortunately, life outside of wrestling has cost him the ability to be truly appreciated for how good he is in the ring. But the three of them put on a show. I mentioned it even in our comments that, this match, it still lived up to what the rest of this card and what this show was. Mm-hmm. It still fit. The match was still right on par and on level with every other match on this card. It didn't feel like it took a step back. The ending wasn't some kind of shenanigans that lets you down or makes you wish that it had gone differently or that it had been finished somewhere else or things like that. The finish was clear. It was well done. I said at one point, I'm like, Moose is killing referees out there, because literally he was. But you also, I've been an adamant fan of Morrissey since I first got turned on to him in NXT way back. That I felt like he had it in him to be a main event star. And I thought his tag partner back then could just turn into a mouthpiece and be his talking piece like Paul Heyman for him and let him really shoot to the top as an in-ring competitor with a mouthpiece on the side. Now he's got clean, and I respect the hell out of him because he's been very open and honest about his struggles with alcoholism and his struggles with drinking and how he had to go through sobriety and get clean and get him to where he is now. And that's why this character that he has in Impact is doing so well, is because people are resonating with that. They're resonating with the story, but he's also playing the character like, I came here and nobody was cheering for me. Nobody was appreciative of the fact that I was here. Nobody wanted to be my fan. So you guys turning around and chanting Morrissey and throwing up the W's now, I don't want that. You guys can go screw yourselves because I had to get to this point on my own. I don't want you hopping on my bandwagon now that you realize what I've known all along. And I love that for him. I do. I think this man has top tier talent. I think he is a future world champion. He's still only just scratching the iceberg of what he's capable of. Cardona has been doing this for so long. It doesn't even surprise me that the man can hang with anybody in the ring. It's a whole nother story of him actually being a world champion and carrying the title that I don't know that I could actually see that. Even when he had the GCW one, he didn't have it for long before he dropped it again. So as fun as it would have been for him to win this match, I couldn't see it. I think there's still a lot more story that Moose has to tell here. I think we have to at some point get back to Moose and Josh Alexander and revisit that and rehab that feud and build to that. But this match as a whole, it was one big hit after another, including right off the bat. I think Morrissey hit that big boot that they thought it was going to be a pinfall like 10 seconds into the match. And the way they played it out, the way it happened, I was like, oh my God, like, are we seriously having a 10-second match right now? Mm-hmm. But it was so good. It was, I know, I won't, without naming names, I know there's people who specifically did not order this pay-per-view. They said because of this match. This match was solid in and out of its own right, but this match wouldn't have been worth missing the entire show for this one match. So it was good for what it was. It was a great way to tell this story. I think there's probably more to tell still with Moose and Morrissey, that Morrissey wasn't involved in that pin and did have that pinfall while the refs were down. So at the end of the day, it left me wanting more. And what more can you ask out of a match like this?
Out of 3 big guys, probably not a lot more.
My throat's hurting from talking all that much now, though, Astrid. So since I haven't let you take the lead on anything as of yet, I was saving the best for last because this Texas death match is something that I feel like you probably have a lot of thoughts on. So I will let you lead us through this match and your thoughts and reactions to it.
Aside from the fact that I feel like I should have looked up the rules for this match, because I feel like for this one they didn't put the rules on the screen. I don't know if it was me, but I didn't see them because I would have screenshotted them and I didn't see them. But just like this match, from like when they announced with everything that happened yesterday, technically, or Friday, I would say now. I kept thinking like this is a good way to keep us at the edge of our seats, because we're thinking, do we have Mickey coming in to the Royal Rumble as Knockouts champion, or do we have Deonna coming in to the winner take all match against Roxy with the Knockouts championship in there? So just like it was interesting to like think which way are they gonna go. But I kept thinking like they probably have Mickey retain, just because it'll be good to like open that forbidden doors, people are saying, and bring in her as Knockouts champion to a WWE pay-per-view. And obviously with the buzz that she had on Friday, can you imagine like her being announced, as Knockouts champion coming into WWE, which is something I would never imagine. I try to keep up with the notes that I had because it was such a good back and forth, and I loved watching these two again. I know sometimes I wish Deonna would have won, but I'm glad Mickey did at the same time. Having Roxy in the audience as well, I feel like they should have probably told her. I don't think they even told her that she was in the like shot, because I feel like she probably would have looked more towards the camera angle when she did, because I feel like I know she was looking at the match obviously, but it looked like she was in like she didn't know that she was part of the shot when they were shooting at her. But to like think about it, having like Matt getting involved in the match the way he did, I like, because from the beginning, when Deonna had her interview, Gail told her like Matt cannot touch Mickey because if not he gets fired. So I was thinking how they're gonna have Matt involved into the match without him getting fired. So I like how he got involved by like saving Deonna in this match and still not touching Mickey when he came to the match, and then getting that guitar shot at the end as well. I thought it was like the way it played out. I loved it. More than anything, Mickey and the thumbtacks, like that part, I'm like, her screaming, and even Deonna had her fair share of thumbtacks to her hands as well in one of the parts, and even the shared shot at the end. I was telling Cody when it happened, Deonna has a chair about to hit Mickey, and she turned around, hit it with the ropes, and she hit herself before she hit Mickey towards the end. And I was like, no, is this gonna play it into the ending of it? I was hoping it didn't. But one thing that I noticed though through this whole pay-per-view is like I like how everybody got involved with the fans, like by the guardrail in some way or another. Like we had Trey and Steve doing on the other side, landing towards like the corner, and we had Jonah and Josh here like by the middle, and then we have Mickey over here with Deonna, and having like I like how they involved a little bit of everything. They had the table, they had the guitar, thumbtacks. Like I'm like, you never thought like after having that hardcore match, what else are they gonna involve in this match to make this a Texas death match? But I was super interested in the way they portrayed it, how she had to get pinned, and then they had to do the 10 count, because I didn't know that was part of the rules for this match. So it was interesting to see this type of match because I'd never seen one like it before. But I don't know if you guys want to like tell me what else you guys felt about it, because I was like so into this.
It was so good. This match.
Go ahead, Cody.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think we have a little bit of lag between the three of us there, so it was so well done in telling their story. Again, like you said, Astrid, the hype from Friday's announcement, and WWE specifically referencing that the Impact Knockouts champion is going to be in the Royal Rumble on Friday Night SmackDown, like actually referencing Impact and the Knockouts on their program was huge. And so coming into this, I thought, Mickey's dropping the title. She's going to go do her Royal Rumble thing, and then she'll come back. I did not foresee this being a situation. I know there was a lot of chatter about it that, this is a huge thing for them to actually have the Knockouts title walk into the Royal Rumble carrying that belt. Who knows if they'll actually let it happen that way, but maybe that's a stipulation that she had with agreeing to do the Rumble, is I get to carry my title to the ring. The match itself, though, the tables, the chairs, the thumbtacks, the aggression on the outside, just a lot going on in this match. I thought Mickey at times looked like she was just playing in the thumbtacks, that she was just laying down and rolling in them for the sake of rolling in them. Nuts. The Queen's Gambit spot in the corner through the table, I don't know who took the worst of that. It should have been Mickey, but I feel like Deonna took quite a bad bump off that table as she put Mickey through it too. The guitar that didn't even break over Raybolt's head. Like, how do you not break a guitar properly? I don't even understand that. The chair spot was kind of bad at the end, where the chair spot at the end was pretty bad because it was like and it was really kind of slow motion. At least that's what it looked like, but you can't do everything in fast motion. I get that. I'm a stickler on some of the little things like that. I know, but as a whole, this match was fantastic. It was very well done. The rules, as I understood it, you're right, Astrid, they didn't ever put them up on screen, but you had to score either a pinfall or a submission over your opponent, and then they had to stay down and couldn't meet a 10 count, which is really unique. It's like a last man standing, but you have to pin the person first. So, really enjoyable. Really enjoyable match. Really surprised in the finish. I thought we might be heading to Deonna being a triple champion on Thursday, and now we could be heading to, her being a nothing champion on Thursday. I mean, she'll still have the Reina de Reinas, but that's all she's had for a little while, especially with the ROH debuts and Roxy being at ringside there. I think we could be heading to some ROH and Impact crossover stuff, and Roxy might actually be holding that ROH title in Impact for a little bit. Mel, what about you?
You know what? The two spots that I have written down here were actually more the comedy spots, I think, in the match. I really said I love the game of dodge the chair with the ref when they're just doing the chair shots in. And
Brian
Hebner's just running to every point of the corner. It's like, don't let anybody ever tell you that being a ref is a safe job, and the ring is probably more dangerous than wrestlers. The second one I also had written down was there was a point at the end of the match where Mickie James actually drop kicked Deonna off of the ring apron.
Yes.
And when she landed on the outside, she just, ow, just audibly, ow. And I couldn't contain myself. I nearly choked laughing at that, because I was like, that is the most relatable reaction I think I've ever heard to somebody just falling on their ass. And it just gave me joy. I felt really good about that. So that's my addition to that. The match ended not too long after. Mercifully for her butt.
It was crazy. I mean, the shot on the corner too, we didn't mention either, where Deonna up top and took that hard shot, the one that Matt ended up having to stand her back up again when she couldn't meet the 10 count. That was, I mean, it was almost like she threw the chair, but she forgot to release it, so she threw it while holding it and smoked her in the head with it.
And I don't remember if it was towards the beginning, but I remember when Mickie did the baseball drop kick or slide, and then she went to kick Deonna, and Deonna was picking up the table. She didn't hit Deonna. Deonna had to get a little bit closer to make it seem like she hit her.
Yeah,
and then,
she had to shimmy down the table.
Yeah, she was like going up a little bit to like chaos. And then the other part was dang it, I know what happened between oh gosh, what was that other spot? Oh, Mickie picking up the table. When she was picking up the table, she couldn't pick it up, and she was like, let me try to put one part of it in the ring and try to push it in. And then she tried to push it in, it didn't work out, and she had to go to the bottom of it and try to put it back in. I was like, did you guys not practice how you guys were going to pick up the stuff before you do it? Like, when the Girls Money in the Bank happened in WWE, they practiced how to get and pick up the ladders before they picked them up. So I was like, what happened with Mickie there? I'm not entirely sure. So that part, of just like, maybe they should have put the shot on the other side so we wouldn't have to see her like putting up the table when she did. So that part I was like, those are the only two my moments.
It's almost comical.
That was very awkward, yeah.
It's almost comical in the moment when that happens, but I find it relatable because I feel like it almost makes it feel more real. Like the spot where Mickey tried to baseball slide, but she didn't go out far enough, and then she's just kind of hanging there, swinging her feet.
And then
And
she
she
went
never
back.
actually,
Yeah.
like Deanna kind of shimmied forward, but Mickey
Yeah.
never did make the contact. So Deanna just
Oh.
put the table down and just moved in to attack her. And then the one where you can't lift the table, like we've all been there. We're trying to lift something off the ground and it just keeps slipping and we can't get a grip on it. And
It's
like
awkward and it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there. We can all relate to it. You know, it's nice when
Mhm.
it's all streamlined and perfect and you have the right camera angles to make it look like it's real. But in situations like that where it's not actually directly relating to like showing somebody not able to hit somebody properly or whatever, if it's just you can't pick something up, I feel like it's fun to watch, but it actually makes us recognize like, yeah, these are still real people.
Because anyone who's set up one of those tables knows how awkward it is and how heavy they are, especially with those metal things on the bottom.
Yeah. But that's how we ended. Nothing else big after that. We got to go home listening to Hardcore Country, which I will never complain about because that is a fantastic entrance theme. As a whole for the show tonight, what do you, like? Let's do a rating. What do you guys think? What would you rate this out of 10? Mel first.
I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna say 8.5 or 9. It wasn't 100%. There was obviously little kitschy things that could not make it perfect. We can't give it a perfect rating. I think in its first kind of year pay-per-view, but I would say 8.5 and 9. Overall, if you're looking to get into Impact, if you're looking to be introduced to some of their characters and some of the people that wrestle for them, this is a perfect pay-per-view for you to kind of figure out if this is going to be something that you're going to be interested in, just because of the sheer level of and difference in matches that we had. We had the hardcore match, we had the X Division match, we had the women's match. There's so many different styles of matches that if you can't find something that you like, we don't know what else we can give you, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Astrid?
I think I'm gonna give it like a 9.5 just because I feel like the Fulton Jake something match I could have done without it in the pay-per-view itself. But other than that, I enjoyed it, all the matches. And to think like we didn't get the influences versus the inspiration, which is the match that we had missing tonight, that would have been fantastic to watch as well. But yeah, just say like a 9.5 because I could have done without that match and I would have added that time to the 4-way because I feel like more time to that would have been excellent. But other than that, overall I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm right along the same lines. I think I'm right in the middle. That I'd probably say I'd give it a 9. The Jake and Fulton match didn't need to be on there. I mean, ultimately it was pre-show. It was on the YouTube stream. I'm not opposed to them televising dark matches like that because that's the kind of match I would expect to happen before the curtains go up when you're just starting to file people in as something for the early comers to be able to see, but have of no consequence to anything else of the show. But at the same time, I'm not opposed to being able to see it as long as it's not taking time away from somewhere else that you could have put that time to better use. We didn't really talk about the influence and inspiration. And Mel, you said, if you can't find anything on here for you, I feel like that influence inspiration match may have been the only thing that could have provided something different that maybe some people would have appreciated, because as a whole on this show, the way this show was lined up, it was just go, hard hitting, strong, really well laid out matches throughout. And I think that match would have been really well laid out and really well done, but I feel like it would have been more of the comedy story type of match. None of those 4 ladies is right now in a place where they're putting on 5-star barn burners of matches. It would be Cassie and Billy and Cassie and Jesse and Jay with an I, and it would be Madison to Neil and Caleb with a K, and it would just be like humor throughout. It would have been a down spot in the show where you would have been able to just relax, take a breather, enjoy like the laugh, and then get back into it. And in a way, I think the show almost benefited from not having that, because it really was like every match just felt like it was on that same level. You didn't have that kind of come down where you could kind of, start to get out of it or start to lose interest or, just lose that momentum. And I think that match will benefit by being a main event match now in a couple weeks in Fort Lauderdale, as was mentioned during the show when Tennille and Madison had their interview backstage. that now these 4 ladies will have a chance to be in that top spotlight and be the stars of that Impact show, as opposed to being somewhere in the middle of a star-studded show of matches as a match that's almost not taken to that same level of seriousness.
Yeah.
But 8.5, 9.59, I think we're all on the same page that this is, a solid A+ show and well worth seeking out and watching for anyone who really enjoys pro wrestling as a whole in any form or shape. Final thoughts? Anything else you want to add here, either of you?
I think I've said all I need to say about this. It was overall an incredible show, and like I said, if you are interested in checking out Impact and any of the characters that they have and what they have to offer you, this was certainly the pay-per-view to watch it, as opposed to just not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it motivated me to watch more often than I should have, because I feel like I felt a lot of love with Impact for a little while, and I feel like seeing the talent that they have there now, and with everything that's happening, especially with Ring of Honor and WWE, it just like it makes me want to watch more often now.
For sure. Astrid, I'm going to throw you on the big screen here first. What do you have going on? Where will we find you? What can we expect from you coming up?
Well, hopefully at the end of the month, I have my second interview for Astrid Ass. I guess I'll give a little preview to this since Mel is here. Yeah, building up for one of my goals for this was to do a women's show. So hopefully Mel and I will get to do that soon. We're working out the little details here and there. So just watch out for the Love Wrestling socials. So whenever we decide to do it, so you can join us. But other than that, I'm seeing me here on Tuesday for NXT with Cody and Ed again, and just excited to watch NXT again. And if I'm not here, well, you can go on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro, and I'll be tweeting about whatever I'm watching.
Excellent. Mel?
Hi. I'm honestly not particularly active on social, but as Astrid mentioned, she and I have been kind of communicating back and forth to work on something there. So other than that, you'll see me with Astrid, and I'll probably announce it on my Twitter. That's at Melball Collins.
And I'm Cody, as I've been the wonderful male among these wonderful females for this great episode of Impact Hard to Kill Reacts here. You can follow me. Wait, which hand am I on? Right there. At Cody Defoe on the Twitter. Active on there talking about wrestling. Not as active as I'd like a lot of the time, but I do talk about Impact, NXT, some New Japan, Stardom, whatever I'm watching when I'm watching it. I'll tweet along with it. Especially if I'm watching live, just to try and start some conversations there. So you can follow me, chat wrestling, all those fun things. You can catch me Tuesday nights here for NXT, like Astrid said, with her and Ed, possibly popping on for reacts on stuff here as well. Potentially in the future for some more Impact pay-per-view and special event follow-ups as well. If you enjoyed what you watched, definitely appreciate you leaving a comment on the video you're watching here. Throw up a like, give us a follow, a subscribe on whatever platform you're watching on. If you want to see more Impact content, definitely drop a comment on there about your love of Impact and what you enjoyed on this show. Make it known, and we'll possibly get more Impact content if people are interested in hearing about it. As for the socials, you can follow us twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. You can follow us at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. You can follow us both Facebook and Twitter at Love Wrestling CA. And check out our new shop, whatamaneuver.com/collection/Love Wrestling CA. Some couple new t-shirts on there. New t-shirts will be coming potentially every couple weeks to a month. Follow up on there, keep an eye, make sure if you want to get any Love Wrestling merchandise, we will have it up there for you, potentially with some special shirts. And again, throw some comments on the video if you have ideas or shirts that you think some of our shows should have, or something that you'd want to buy. Once again, shout out to RK Athletics for their wonderful sponsoring of all of our Love Wrestling content. Rich King on the social medias at RK Athletics 1. Get a hold of him if you're in the Edmonton area. Again, he does local in the city and training as well as a professional wrestler in the local independent scene. And before my voice completely gives out on me, because I've been losing my voice all week on and off as I've been recovering from a cold as well, Manscaped.com, our wonderful sponsor, providing us with all the things you need for your male grooming or female grooming. I mean, it's not specific to just the male undergarments, even though it is Manscaped. Promo code Love Wrestling at Manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with your order. Oh my God, I can't talk anymore. I am done.
You did it.
This has been a great night. I feel like it didn't help that I was playing and cheering and enjoying this show so much throughout. Astrid, Mel, it was great having you ladies on here. It was a great night for women's wrestling. The Ultimate X match lived up to every expectation I had for it. The ladies in that Texas death match did an amazing job in it as well, taking the main event on the pay-per-view. Which way am I? Which way am I pointing? That way? That way? No, that way. For Astrid and Mel, I am Cody. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourselves a great night. Take care. Stay safe. Peace.